I welcome you to the retirement ceremony of honoring Chief Warrant Officer Sheldon Daniel Smith, United States Navy. The presiding officer for today's ceremony is Lieutenant Commander Pat Collins, XO, Special Boat Team 20. I am CWO4 Robert Day, and I will be serving as your Master of Ceremonies for today's events. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the national anthem followed by the invocation. Boatswain, stand by the pipe to side.
Aye, aye, sir. Aye, boatswain. And for right face. Oh.
Lieutenant Commander of the United States Navy arriving. Lieutenant Commander of the United States Navy arriving. Chief Warrant Officer 4, United States Navy arriving. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem will be played by the United States Fleet Forces Band. Color Guard, parade the colors.
Color guard, that's it, check. Forward, march. Left wheel, march. Ready, up. Present, go.
Thank you, USS Fleet Forces Band. CWO4 retired Robert Jordan will offer the invocation. Please remain standing.
Let us give thanks to the Lord. Heavenly Father, it is with thanks that we come to you this day, a day of celebration commemorating Dan's service to the Lord and to the Navy, our nation, and to the world community. As we salute Dan today, we pause to know that you, Lord, having watched over Dan throughout his career, made this day possible for Dan and his family. So, with all the accolades due to Dan, we glorify you as our Lord and Savior, and as we do, we lift your name in praise and thanksgiving and say, Amen.
Will the guests please be seated? both retired aside boys. We are honored to have a number of family members and distinguished guests with us today. Dan's wife, Alicia, his children, Timothy, Samantha, and Hannah, his father, Luther, brother Nate, his wife, Kristen, aunts June and Jennifer, Uncle Leo, and cousin Emma, Ben, Austin, and Rachel, and her husband, Claus. We would also like to welcome all senior leaders, shipmates, and friends who have joined us. Thank you for attending this time-honored tradition. Family members and friends, we know that you are, more than any of us, are aware of the sacrifices that Chief Warrant Officer Smith has made in the service of our country. And I speak for all of us when I say how pleased we are to have you here today. The Navy retirement ceremony is a time-honored tradition where we pay tribute and recognize the years of dedicated service to our nation and the freedoms we all enjoy. We are proud to share this with Chief Warrant Officer Smith at the end of 28 years of distinguished military duty. And what we all know, we will be a prosperous and successful new beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to introduce to you Lieutenant Commander Pat Collins, today's presiding officer.
Bear with me 1 second, please. Good afternoon. Can you guys in the back hear me? How's everyone doing today? Okay, good. I see head nods around the room. We excited to send the Smith family off? Okay, all right. So some ground rules here. I'm going to speak to most of you who are unfamiliar with this environment of military ceremonial pomp and circumstance. So my role here is, I'll put in simple forms. You can just cue off of me for when to clap as we move through this ceremony. Okay, all joking aside, it's an honor to be the presiding officer today for Dan's retirement ceremony. It's truly humbling to share the stage with Dan and Jay, such a salty group of seasoned professionals that I cherish and respect their mentorship. And if you didn't know, just between the three on stage, about 90 years of services just between those three. So with that, I'll start with a round of applause here. Okay, now we're warmed up. Okay. All right, I'll leave most of the personal sentiment and affection about Dan's career to Lieutenant Commander May. My goal is just to provide some context to the magnitude of Dan's career and finally extend my gratitude to Alicia, Timothy, Samantha, Hannah, and then also finally Dan's father, Luther, brother Nate, aunts, cousins, all who raised and supported him on behalf of the United States Navy, and for those who stand and watch as Dan moves on to his next chapter. You guys all molded an outstanding man and gave us a teammate that we've cherished over the last 28 years. First, just a few words about where we are for you less military inclined folks. So this is an awesome venue, great choice, Dan. This base, for those you don't know, holds the largest single formation of naval strike aircraft in the world. There's about 17 squadrons over the years that have been stationed here, and these planes you see next to us and these squadrons deploy on carriers that form carrier strike groups. Those strike groups are the heart, really, of our Navy and this key foundational unit that we deploy overseas and have cherished since World War II. Combat power, just out on those runways, just a mere 200 yards behind us, is truly incredible and larger than what most countries have in their whole arsenal. So, moving into the strike groups. Those strike groups, currently consisting of cruisers, destroyers, submarines, and support vessels, they're all linked together in an array of radar systems, weapon systems, and sensors that form this porcupine-like effect from a defensive posture standpoint when they're underway at sea. In addition to that, they have the capability of launching Tomahawk missiles and launching strike sorties over 1,000 miles, which most countries, once again, can't muster that kind of combat power when we deploy these all the time in the world. It's a key tool for U.S. diplomacy, key diplomatic tool that we use as we play the great game of chess on the global stage. And now getting into where Dan comes in and how he fits into this larger macro level Navy that I speak of. So after graduating boot camp in 1996 and then A school and C school in 1997, 1998, Dan became a fire controlman. I see a lot of FCs in the room here giving support to Dan. That's awesome. But specifically, he specialized in the Aegis system. So for those not familiar with Aegis, it's an integrated weapons system aboard cruisers and destroyers that give that strike group the ability to detect, track, and destroy threats and truly make that porcupine-like defensive posture with the ship's positioned at sea. Okay, for the FCs in the room, how am I doing on Aegis ships, surface? Okay, comically, I am probably the least qualified person in this room to be talking about naval weapon systems, and it's definitely intimidating to speak in front of this group about it. But it's an important chapter of this story in kind of explaining the magnitude of what Dan's function and most people in this room, their function and how we fit in the grander scheme. So part of that Aegis system, when that system or component of that system isn't functioning, or we don't have a skilled, tested team of sailors standing that watch operating those systems, that ship can't fulfill its purpose, which leaves that strike group and our capital assets really, really vulnerable. And then from a more national level perspective, part of how we play the game in the world is we keep advanced, powerful ships forward and combat ready 365 days of the year. That gives us an advantage. It gives our leaders unmatched options when crises arise, or we can shift battle groups, just like you're seeing in the Eastern Med, and how we throw resources at problems to really give us ships back when options don't seem that visible. So while the rest of the military has been consumed with low-intensity conflicts over the last 20 years, our navies continued this great game of Risk with our allies and our partners and our adversaries as we see this world getting more chaotic, which is really coming to a head and will come to a head in the near future. So that in a nutshell is the impact of Dan's service really as a technical expert, a watchstander, and a leader over the last 28 years. He was part of a team, training, leading, being a technician, being a watchstander, keeping those ships online, keeping those strike groups in the fight. So I'm going more into Dan's career. So Dan served on 3 cruisers, the Mobile Bay from 1998 to 2002, the Antietam from 2005 to 2010, the Way City, where he was, and then after the Way City, he was selected for commissioning as a Chief Warrant Officer in 2014. Went to the Way City after first tour as a warrant officer. And then one carrier, which he holds a fond experience with, which brings the most connection to this place with planes and fighter pilots walking around this base, from 2020 to 2022. Additionally, some other tours. He served at MEPS Little Rock, Arkansas, which reading that's an awesome deal. I wish I could find that set of orders. Naval Station Great Lakes, where that's significantly where he picked up chief and where he became part of that fraternity, that brotherhood. And then Naval Surface Mine Warfare Development Center in San Diego. And then finally, Special Boat Team 20 here in Virginia Beach, where he helped us support a series of presidentially directed sensitive operations, which are significant. Okay, all right. I can't begin to explain, when I think about that from my career to this point, how many watches that is, how much time away from home that is. See Alicia nodding her head. How many wake-ups for systems casualties in the middle of the night, or personnel issues, and then most importantly, how many lives he impacted on the way. And then I also see in this room the legacy that he leaves behind, which is truly what this is about. So Alicia, Timothy, Savannah, Hannah, can't thank you enough for enduring that. I understand that most of the time that purpose I just explained and how we fit into the world stage and our national interest really, really hits home, because it doesn't most of the time. You know, we live in our day in and day out lives, and we lose sight of that a lot. And I know in all those times, you probably just wanted to have your husband and your father home. But all I'll say is, you certainly can fly that American flag proudly the rest of your lives, knowing that you guys gave your whole lives, for some of you, 28 years, 24 years, whatever it is, service to country. Okay, so it's just a few more words about just kind of what this ceremony means to me and what it means for the active duty members in the room here. So Though we're sending the Smith family ashore today, the mission goes on. Ships are still at sea. People are still in harm's way. And I've found over my career it's extremely important to take this time for all of us to really pause, send a shipmate, a teammate off, honor a Navy family, and on a distinguished career, and then just reflect on that bond of service that we all have, which keeps us going, and that will carry on the rest of our lives. It really is the epitome of pride, heritage, tradition, and family. So now shifting to Dan here, I don't think this has truly hit him. I remember when he came into my office and told me that he was retiring, not separating, and seeing the look in his eyes when he was making that decision and the reality hitting him after some long, hard conversations. And for me, being a SEAL, being a ground guy, just bear with me for a quick analogy. So we're used to ground guys, Army, Marines, Special Forces guys, we're used to carrying stuff on our body. We're used to carrying all our stuff in a backpack and body armor on us. So I use the proverbial rucksack mentality here. So in that proverbial rucksack we carry, day in and day out, whether you're at home, on leave, there's still that strange weight of responsibility that's heavy. And unlike some other careers that I can relate to, it's so much relies on your performance that there's a weight that is like truly, truly unique that most people in this room probably understand to a degree. And then additionally, I think we are addicted to that purpose and responsibility in that profession. And letting someone take that weight out of our ruck, my ruck, and putting that in theirs and saying you got it is definitely not easy. And I think that's hitting him, and he's carried that for a long time. And it's a source of epic amount of pride that we're going to part ways with here. So, Dan, today, your rucksack's empty. Let it go. Put it down. We got you. And then we'll see that in ceremonial form today as Dan's most cherished shipmates come forward and take the watch in front of us all. And really, that's what this is all about here. That's what I really appreciate for this ceremony. And Dan, I've learned a lot by watching your example in honestly a short amount of time. Your demeanor and your patience and your willingness to speak your mind, challenge opinions for junior enlisted personnel was profound to me and mentored me. And then your humility, embracing a role well outside of your expertise and asking you honestly to do less and focus on the little things when that's what the team needed was truly humbling. So finally, your outstanding leader, friend, teammate, and we're going to miss you. Fair winds and falling seas. Let's keep rolling.
Thank you, Lieutenant Commander Collins. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to introduce to you Lieutenant Commander Jay May, today's guest speaker.
Oh, you're good. We're good. I'm always prepared. Here we go. Hey, good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Thanks for the introduction. Master of Ceremonies doing a great job, by the way. Navy Band, you're doing amazing. Keep up the good work. Couldn't do this without you guys. Good morning, family, friends, officers, Chief Petty Officers, Chief Selects. I know you're out there somewhere. Thanks for showing up, finally. And the family, thank you so much for being here. Dan definitely could not have done this without you, so I appreciate all the service and support. We'll get into that too, though. But I want to talk about when I first met Dan, right? I first met Dan when he was headed back from emergency leave while on deployment. We were both on deployment at the same time, same strike group. Dan had a layover on my ship. So I was on an aircraft carrier. He was going back to a cruiser. I was on the John C. Stennis at the time. And then my ship assigned me as his escort or sponsor for his layover. I'm going to be completely honest. I was not a happy person about this. As you know, at the time I was an LPO, and as Dan knows, I always wanted to be a Chief Petty Officer because I never wanted to be an LPO again. Probably the hardest job in the entire United States Navy, to be honest with you. Anyways, I was eyeballs deep in work as a divisional leading petty officer. On top of that, I was standing 6 hours of watch a day, trying to get the regular work done, the admin, the taking care of sailors as you could, and get sleep when you could. And I didn't know how I was going to find time to show this this fellow shipmate around, I was actually not excited about it. I mean, here I have to babysit a grown man while on deployment. I mean, he didn't really need much babysitting, thank God, but you were not a baby either, so that's good. This guy was going to a ship at the time, it's called the Antietam, but this ship was nicknamed by the carrier strike group as the anti-team. As many of you guys know, they didn't like to play well with others. They also had a lot of engineering casualties, so it was like, hey, where's the cruiser at? Because if you don't know, the cruiser's designed to defend the aircraft carrier, right? And it's like, well, where's the cruiser? Like, well, I don't know. The anti-team's not playing with us today, I guess. So, anyways, I didn't think you were going to be a stand-up guy based off the ship's reputation. But when I picked Dan up and took in him, I found out Dan was coming back from emergency leave. So I kind of felt bad. You know, it was one of those introductions. He comes off the plane like, hey, man, I'm FC1. He's like, hey, I'm FC1 too. And it's like, hey, you know, what's going on? You coming out the ship? He's like, no, I'm coming off emergency leave. So, like, face kind of was like, oh, you're a butthole. You know, like, oh, man. I just felt really bad. So, you know, I was in a pessimistic situation for you. And just kind of, I figured it was my duty there. It was my charge to make Dan stop on the aircraft carrier the best stop that he could ever have, right? Like, I've been on a small ship. My first ship was a Spruance class destroyer. As many of you have never even heard of it because it's been decommissioned for almost 20 years now. The last one was decommissioned in 2005. Yeah, wow. Whew. Anyways, but I know he was going back to a major crap show when he gets back there. So I wanted to show him around. And I wanted to give him a 5-star treatment. So I took him everywhere. I took him up to the bridge. I took him up to carrier air control. Up to the oh God level, and yeah, I think I winded him out by the time we got up there, but took him to Vulture's Row so he could watch the aircraft, the F-18s launch and recover, because I know that's something that amazed me being from a small ship guy. I was like, dude, they land aircraft on here. I'm used to helicopters. They're landing like jets right next to us. Like, let's go down to the foul line. And he's like, where are we going? I'm like, I don't know, just put this float coat on. Like, he's like, do you know what you're doing? I'm like, no, but I just know don't go past this line and we'll be all right. They'll leave us alone. I think I even tried to sneak you into a reactor space or two. We might have got stopped a few times. I don't know. I was very optimistic on where I could take Dan because I was like, this is going to be he's going to see everything before we roll out here. I think I might have worn him out in the 3-day tour he was on there. But we really got to know each other really well. You know, Dan and I hit it off really quickly. I think we spent a lot of time on watch after he left there. Standing watch, chatting with each other back and forth. We're both standing air defense warfare coordinator, which if you don't know, that's means we're in charge of all the air defense of the carrier strike group at the time. And we were working hand in hand on different ships, instantaneously working to keep the aircraft carriers safe from inbound missiles or aircraft or stuff like that. But I told Dan on his way out, I said, listen, man, I don't think you need to worry about being at sea very long because you're just one port visit away from the anti-team saying, engineering casualty, and you'll be back home, buddy. So that was the first time we met, and it was probably one of the greatest things ever, you know? Dan and I would end up following each other around for a long time. I went to Great Lakes right after John C. Stennis, and then Dan went to Great Lakes as well, so we both made chief at the same time. And then, believe it or not, I'm sitting in my kitchen one day, I get a call from Dan. I'm like, Dan, what's up? He's like, hey, dude, did you see the message? What message? He goes, you got selected. You're getting commissioned, man. I was like, no way. And I was like, he's like, I'm also getting commissioned. I'm like, well, that's even more great because we're going to get commissioned the same year. You know, it's going to be great. And then I was like, what'd you get? He goes, oh, I got selected for chief warrant officer. I was like, oh, well, what did I get? Because he just told me I got commissioned. He's like, oh, you made LDO. I was not happy, okay? Everybody's like, well, you should be really excited you got commissioned. I was not happy at all. Like, I don't know if you know this or not, but warrant officers don't do a lot of work. I'm sorry, warrants, if I offended you, but you know it's true. It's like, I think you're working overtime if you're in uniform and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But anyways, I didn't want to work like those crusty warrant officers, but now as an LDO, I got to work and work my way through the ranks, so it kind of sucked. But I was happy that we got commissioned together. So we did a lot of things about, not quite together, but we experienced most of the same things in our career about the same amount of time. And Dan's been in the Navy 28 years now, and I've been in 25, so it's been a ride. But this is one of the things I love about the Navy, right? You get the ability to meet lifelong friends at a moment's notice, and you never know which day is going to be that day that you walk into work or you're doing your job, and then some random person out of nowhere, you find them. And they never leave your side. They never leave your thoughts. and you contact each other all the time. It's one of the greatest things I love about the military. And it's such a small community. I mean, even in the audience, I got shipmates here I haven't seen in years. And today I see them again. I'm like, well, it's like yesterday, like we never stop. You know, and it's like, I love seeing these guys. I love seeing what they're doing, hearing that their stories and seeing they're still succeeding well. But I'm gonna tell you, Dan, I had an old crusty Master Chief tell me that if you don't do 30 years in the Navy, then you're a quitter. Now, I've never known you to be a quitter, Dan. And I'm not calling you a quitter, but you almost made it, my friend. You almost made it. But I think I'll give you a pass on this one this time, okay? But 28 years is nothing to scoff at. I don't want to make too light of that. It's something to be very proud of. I'm proud of you and your family for sacrificing to get here. The long deployments, the missed birthdays, the anniversaries, the duty days, and the worst one yet, the basic phase or training cycle of a ship. And those of you who've ever been on a ship understand that is the worst. Holy goodness. That's where the long underways and the long hours come from. I'll take a deployment any day over a training cycle, please. If you want to send me on a training cycle, I'm like, nope, where's the next one going on deployment? Because I'll be right there. Sorry, babe. You know, she hates me being away too, so. But there's one thing I want to take away from this day, and I want you to look into this crowd and see all the lives you've touched and impacted during your service to this country. You have built a legacy and changed more lives than you'll ever see, and that's the worst thing about creating a legacy. You never get to know the impact of what you have fully built. In 28 years, you've impacted 3 generations of sailors with your grace, guidance, mentorship, and sometimes even a little tough love. I'm sure some of them valued that afterwards, and they didn't realize that the tough love is what they really needed at the time. What you've taught them will be passed on to their sailors because you have expertly molded them. After a certain point in everyone's career in the Navy, we realized that it isn't about us anymore. It's about improving sailors and ultimately creating the strongest and most elite fighting force any other country has ever seen, and put us over there to put warheads on foreheads and do America's business when the time is called. I'm proud and I'm honored to be a part of your Navy story and legacy. I wish you and your family the best as you set off in your new adventure called the mysterious world of being a civilian. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm sure it'll be you with long hair and a beard or something, flip-flops. I don't know. I don't know what it'll be. But I will not wish you fair winds and following seas. I never liked that term. You're not sailors. We don't put sails on our ships, so I don't really care what the following seas are. Then if any of you have ever been on a ship, following seas are not fun. It actually makes the worst seas out there, so I don't like following seas. But what I am going to say is, seeing that you are a quitter and all, I'm going to wish you a life full of love, laughter, family, and new exciting adventures, and hopefully a little bit more good books to read. So thank you, my friend, for letting me share this experience with you.
Thank you, Jay. Chief Warrant Officer Smith has been recognized for his outstanding service to our nation by various government and military leaders. Lieutenant Commander Collins will now present the Presidential Certificate of Appreciation. The Certificate of Appreciation for Service in the Armed Forces of the United States. Chief Warrant Officer Smith, I extend to you my personal thanks and sincere appreciation of our nation for your honorable service. You've helped me to maintain the security of the United States of America with a devotion to duty that is keeping with the proud tradition of our armed forces. I honor your service and respect the commitment and loyalty you displayed over the years. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future. Signed, President Joseph Biden. Chief Warrant Officer Smith has also received certificates of appreciation from former Presidents Barack H. Obama, George W. Bush, and William J. Clinton. The United States Navy realizes that our members will not be able to succeed without the strong support, commitment, and understanding from the families. It is only fitting that at the end of a service member's career, we also honor these very important persons for the strong support that they have given throughout his career. Ushers, please escort Alicia, Timothy, Samantha, and Hannah to the front of the stage. Certificate of Appreciation from United States Navy to all who shall see these present and greetings. This is to certify that wife Alicia, son Timothy, and daughters Samantha and Hannah have earned the grateful appreciation for their unselfish, faithful, and devoted service during their husbands' and fathers' naval career. Your unfailing support and understanding helped to make possible Chief Warrant Officer Smith's lasting contribution to the nation. Given this 5th day of September 2024, signed Commander Eric Nye. Now Dan will now present his gifts to his family. Better be some good ones too.
Did everybody hear me okay? Okay, I love these people. What I used to tell, when I was an instructor, what I would tell, and I told this to divisions too. I love my family more than you. And if it's a choice between being here and being home with my family, I'm going home. And I tried to put that, and there were many things that I got to see all three first, which is, for those of you who have been around the Navy a long time, that's not normal. And I am grateful that I got to see all three first. I got to videotape one of them, C-section battles. I still have that. Probably should have said that out in front of the skinny on my kids. I represent them in a very serious way, and I represent them something that's not quite as serious, but arguably they're going to enjoy as much. So, because my children like candy and money, and so that's part of the gifts. So that's what we're going to do. I'll talk about them individually later. Alicia, so Hannah likes M&Ms, Airheads. She also likes Minecraft. So if there's some Minecraft things out there, definitely share stories with Hannah. And I don't want to say more right now. Others. Samantha is just starting her career at James Madison University. Very proud of her for getting started up there. I think there's some candy to get you through a day. Anyway. Tim is a senior in Region, and there's more that I'll share later about how he didn't get to the high school graduation, but he definitely deserved because of that time period of our societal meltdown. But I am proud of his boy for what he has accomplished, despite. Sometimes it's spite. So, that's a lot of sugar, man, but okay, thank you. And then, Jeff Deering, where's he at? Over here. Jeff Deering is the woodworker at our command. And literally 2 days ago, I asked him if he could come through for me on something. And they're embossed with their names and very gorgeous boxes. So, I don't know if you're doing a business or not, but if you're not, just for friends, okay, yeah. Send me the bill because this is gorgeous. So anyway, thanks to Jeff, that we have these really great gifts for the friends of two prisoners. Get back to your seats before you open it up because there's stuff in there.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my distinct honor and privilege to introduce to you the man of the hour, Chief Warrant Officer, Wade City rock star, Dan Smith, United States Navy.
We're going to let the sounds of freedom continue and then I'll start. I know that's my dad's favorite part of the ceremony anyways. Sounds like it's receding. I think we're okay. Does everybody hear me all right? Thank you all for coming. Thank you for bearing with me as I've smiled and laughed already, and we've told a couple of jokes already, and he's already ribbed on me a couple of times, and so thank you for being here. I know a lot of this is confusing to some of you because you maybe have never experienced this before. Just hang with us. You don't have to do anything. We got this, and well, just enjoy it. And we'll get through it. As I prepared for this day, one question has haunted me. And it's not whether or not I should actually retire. I am a quitter. The question that has haunted me is, how does a sailor with 28 years of more or less faithful service condense all of that into a 3-hour speech? I'm just kidding, of course. The staff here wouldn't let me talk that long, and I did ask them. So you can thank them on your way out. They're in the office on the other side. Thanks, Rod, for being my MC today. I knew the instant I asked you that this was going to be awesome and well run. That dude ran a tight ship on Way City, no pun intended, or maybe it was. I knew that mid-watch would be bearable if I walked into combat and you were there. So, and watching you mentor junior sailors, honestly, Rod, every night on the mid-watch would have a sailor sitting next to him learning from him. And that's the kind of guy that I wanted to be friends with. And so, thank you, Rod. Thank you, Pat, for being my presiding officer and being the exact XO I needed at this time. I hadn't thought about that, but that was a tough thing to admit when I had to tell him that I was done. And I didn't know it was going to be tough to say it just now either. But Pat was the guy to be sitting there to hear it. And I needed that. And I needed someone who told me to take the pack off because I wasn't ready to give it up yet. And he had to tell me, I don't know how many times you did it. Why are you here right now? You can tell me that again next week because I'm not coming. Well, actually, you won't see me. I won't be there. But thank you. Thank you, Jay, for being my guest speaker. Thanks most of all for not telling that one story about that one place at that one time. Yeah. We want to keep it PG at least. All right, thank you. And Bob, Father Bob, thank you for your prayers today. I've met Father Bob at church, and honestly, I've appreciated your in fact, Father Bob is one of the reasons we're all here today, because I went to him and I was like, I don't know if this is the right decision or not. And he has said this line to me over and over again: Dan, it's going to be okay. And it is okay. Thank you. A special thanks goes to my family today. I know that you hear a lot of, for the civilians in the room or those who haven't seen a military ceremony, there is no way to thank the family enough for what they go through. And the effort we make at these ceremonies, it pales in comparison to what they should get. But I am grateful for my family, and I cannot believe so many of them came here today. I honestly, as more people kept accepting the invite, I just couldn't believe it. I mean, you came from halfway across the country or better to come see me, and it means the world to me. My dad served on a destroyer. Dad, raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise up. Yep. That's Luther Smith. He served on a destroyer in Vietnam. And I know a lot of guys didn't get the recognition they deserved, and so I want to give you. My dad fostered a love for the Navy in my childhood that carried me through into my enlistment and into a couple of re-enlistments. And maybe I don't like you as much for that part, but that's. But truly, I used to tell people, and I actually think this is true, I could draw a Gearing-class destroyer before I could draw dinosaurs as a kid, and I think that was true. So in honor of USS Agerholm, I just have that memory. Nate, my brother, and his wife, Kristen, as career educators, I know that you should get the recognition at least on par. Where is Nate? Oh, there you are. I don't know how I could miss you. Kristen, Nate, as career educators, I know you deserve the accolades that I'm getting today. And you know, I don't know how to fix that. I'm not a politician. If I was, I probably wouldn't be the right one, but you deserve it, and I'm grateful for both of you. So thank you. I know your time off is precious, and it meant a lot to me that you came out here. Thanks to my aunts Jennifer and June, who literally helped raise me at various parts of my life growing up. Thanks to Uncle Leo. I stayed, after 8th grade, I think I went to visit June and Leo for a week or two. I can't remember which, and I don't know how many hours into that they were already wishing I was going home, but I am grateful for that. Jennifer, raise your hand, Jennifer. June, raise your hand. So that's June and Leo, and then Jennifer here. My family in Jacksonville had to evacuate from a hurricane while I was on one of those previously said underways. We had to get the ship underway to get out of harbor, and Alicia had nowhere to go until Jennifer said, come to my house across the state. And so thank you, Jennifer. Let's see, who else we got here? We got Rachel and Klaus. Thank you for being here today from Oklahoma City-ish, somewhere in that area. Rachel and I she was my first best friend, honestly. Yeah. I don't know if we are now, but you were my first best friend. Yeah, exactly. Ben, Austin, Emma, you guys, Emma, like a little sister to me. Brothers, Ben and Austin. I love all you guys, and I'm so glad you're Let's see. And then thanks also, my in-laws are here from Texas, the Massey family. Priscilla, raise your hand, Priscilla. And John, my father-in-law. Thank you both for coming. And thank you for not telling Alicia she was making a mistake by marrying me. Or maybe you did, but I don't know. And it doesn't matter because she stayed. So either way, it worked out for me. Thank you all for joining us today as we say farewell to over a quarter century of time. For many of you who have served with me or worked with me in the past, this is the last opportunity that I'll ever have to make you listen to me. Except for CS7 from USS Eisenhower, who never listened to me. But what pressure to say the right thing? It's the last chance I'll get. So here's what I want to say. The first thing I want to say is that becoming a Chief Warrant Officer 4 is no small feat. But literally, and most assuredly, if I can do it, anyone can. When I joined the Navy in 1996, I quickly earned the nickname Unsat. I know, it's shocking. My boots weren't shined, my hair was always out of regulations, and I had summer creases in my uniform shirts. And for the civilians in the room, summer creases are some are here, some are there, none of them are where they ought to be. Fast forward a few years, and there I was in a bar in Hong Kong. Wait, wrong story. I was on shore patrol, standing guard outside the naval base in Yokosuka, Japan, back in 1999, so a couple years after my schooling, when I had earned the nickname Unsat. And I thought I saw someone I recognized from back in the day. And he must have thought he recognized me too, because from across the street I hear, "Hey, is that you, Unsat? Man, buddy, it's been a long time." And he came over and gave me a hug, and I was like, "Really, man, I'm trying to change." I still hate shining my shoes. And I let the dry cleaner iron my shirts, when I actually ironed them. Yeah. Then on USS Anti-Team, my second ship, when I met Jay, I earned the last counseling chit I ever got in the Navy. For my civilian friends, a counseling chit is a form used by your supervisor to let you know you're screwing up and you need to get back in line. I got a lot of those forms over my career to that point. But I will never forget the last one I got. It was Christmas 2006. I was supposed to conduct some maintenance, but I just couldn't be bothered. Then when my coworker got back from his leave and I was about to go on leave, I see Seth nodding his head. I don't know how well he remembers this story, but I was about to go on leave, and I told Woody the part hadn't come in until just yesterday. Well, our best friend Woody did some investigating and found out the part had come in a week before, and I had had plenty of time to do the maintenance. So imagine my surprise when I come back from my leave and there's a counseling chit waiting for me from FC1 Howard, who retired as a lieutenant commander. I was embarrassed. Honestly, I was embarrassed. I had told people that I was turning a corner. I told them that I wasn't like this anymore, and here I was proving them right again. I had been in the Navy for over 10 years at that point. So why do I tell you this? Is it so that you can mess up too? CS7 division on USS Eisenhower? Is it so that like a child finding out their parent didn't get good grades in school, you can slack off too? Of course that's not the reason why I'm doing this. Many of you only know me as Chief Warrant Officer, damn near top of the food chain, untouchable. Comfortable talking to captains and technicians in the same day. At ease telling junior officers to shut up and do what I tell them to, and I have said that a couple times, and not spilling a drop of coffee the whole time. But that is not the whole story. And if you're struggling in your career, it's not the whole story for you either. I did change. I did seek help. And that help came in the form of Senior Chief James Edwards, who retired as a W3. A lot of people kept going after they met me. I don't know how. James saw a struggling guy, but I think he saw there was potential there, and I am grateful for that. And I asked James to help me get where he was, which was a senior chief, E8 at the time, and he said, shut up and do what I tell you to do. And I did. And I am grateful that he didn't give up on me. And so what I'm here to tell you today is, what you see today is built on a past that was ugly. And if you've got an ugly present, it doesn't mean that's what the future looks like. You can change. The other thing I want to tell you today is to be who you already are. Matt Elliott, who made Chief, Matt Elliott, where is he now?
He's retired.
Is he retired already? All right, I meant to talk to him. Matt Elliott, who made Chief the year before me in Great Lakes and was commissioned the same year that Jay and I did. He worked with Jay, and that's how I met him. But he wrote several bullet points in my charge book, and I can explain charge books later. They're not important to this speech. But he wrote several things in my charge book, but the last thing he wrote, the last bullet point's the one that sticks out the most. He said, do not change who you were. When I made chief, I had to answer the question, what do you bring to the mess? Some of you chief selects in the room are probably having to answer that right now, and I'm sure you're failing miserably. I did too. And for the civilians, by the way, a chief's mess is kind of like a church. It could be a building, it might not be a building, but it's the people in the mess that make up the mess. Lord, don't strike me for using that analogy. But I digress from there. In answering the question, what will I bring to the mess, I wrote this. The single most important thing I will bring to the mess is a passion for developing junior sailors. At each level of my career, I have invested in the lives of sailors, both in peers and subordinates. I enjoy identifying their needs and potential. What an amazing feeling to finally get through to a sailor who can't get their head in the game, or to encourage one that's working hard but just needs a few pieces added to it. I'm pretty sure I got yelled at for that. But heck, we got yelled at for everything during chief season. Anyway, I wanted to focus on who I was. I develop people and I build teams, and that's what I did. Unfortunately, after putting on chief and again in chief warrant officer, I let other people tell me what I was supposed to be. And I tried to fit the mold. I tried so hard to fit the mold that others had for me that I lost myself for a little while. And it took a long time to get back. It took me years to finally follow Matt Elliott's advice. While I struggled to fit the mold that others had for me, Matt was living a blessed life of knowing who he was and living that out. He wasn't ashamed of it while I was trying to hide. When I finally decided to be me, I too lived in that freedom. I will always be grateful to Matt for that advice, and my only regret is I didn't follow it sooner. Bottom line, don't try to fit my mold. Fit your mold. Don't try to be me, be you. I'm already better at being me than you'll ever be, and I will never be you. I have one last military-related thing I want to do. Chris Gilbert, front and center. Actually, join me on the stage. For those of you who don't know Chris, he was my leading chief petty officer on USS Eisenhower, so most of those people hooping and hollering at the back are his fault. He kept my head above water more times than I can count. Chris, it was a privilege to help you put on your application to be a chief warrant officer, and it is my continued honor to see you do so well in your adventure. Chris commissioned long after we stopped calling ourselves surface ordnance officers. We're electronics technicians now, a term that makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit. I commissioned an ordnance tech, and I will always be one. I'm wearing it right now, out of uniform. I've never worn that stupid electronics emblem, and I never will. Sorry to any ETs that might be in the room. If anyone deserves the surface ordnance warfare designator, it is you, Chris. I leave you my surface warrant officer emblem pin. Wear it with pride when you're allowed to. You can tell Captain Vliet I said it was okay. Yeah, put it underneath the collar. Hey, thanks, Chris. Let me speak to the civilians in the room for just a minute. I can imagine you've grown very exhausted trying to keep up with the unfamiliar acronyms and terms and stories that we're throwing at you. Thank you for your patience as I spoke one last time to those who are serving or have served. The reason there are so many civilians in attendance today is because as a sailor, I value you. I know where my support comes from. I know where my paycheck comes from too, but your role as a taxpayer aside, I have learned a lot from all of you. Whether it's Pastor Mike at church, where's Big Mike? Mike and Kay. Whether it's my neighbors like Christian and Dee, I know you guys are in the room. Kat and Kyle are in the room. I'm just so grateful for all you guys. I never wanted to be stationed here, ever. I avoided it for 24 years of my career, and I thought I got away with it, and then they sent me to Eisenhower. But the honest truth is, the folks I have met here have made this place not just tolerable, but a place that we want to live for the foreseeable future. And so I am grateful to all of you. Allow me to dote on my family for just a minute. My children have largely grown up with a moderately absent father, the shame of which I bear, even as I am grateful for everything the Navy has provided us. Timothy, in your senior year at Regent, I am so proud of you. When you graduated from high school, a year early, everyone, a year early, you graduated high school in 2020, so that I could transfer to Ike on time. That meant the world to me. You supported me in real time while the world burned around us. I'm so grateful for you, and I am proud of you, son. 2025, the year you graduate from Regent, is going to be lit. You're going to get the celebration you should have gotten a few years ago. Samantha, you're a little too like me sometimes for us to stay in the same room for long. But the truth is, I've become very grateful for our verbal sparring matches. You shine on the stage and in the classroom. I couldn't be more proud of you. James Madison University doesn't know what they've got yet because you just got there, but I know they will be grateful soon. And I am thankful that you worked with your professor so you could be here today. Her school just started a few weeks ago, and she already asked for time off, and it's because you asked for it that you were able to be here. No helicopter parents here. We didn't ask for her, so we don't do it. Thank you for being a strong, independent young woman. Don't take crap from anyone. You are the boss. Got it? All right. Hannah, you are the best surprise your mom ever gave me. I had given up on having more children. I think Alicia probably had too. We just thought we were done. And I'll never forget getting the surprise. It might have been the only good thing about Chief season. You made me so proud, Hannah, when you challenged yourself to become a reader, even as you dealt with ADHD and the struggles that you went through in your classroom. I saw you fight, and I am proud of you. I appreciate your art. It's phenomenal. I love seeing your newest creation, your dragons. She loves dragons, she loves drawing dragons, and she's very good at it. She is a better digital artist than I am, actually, any kind of artist. I will never forget leaving San Diego and how painful that was for you. I will do everything in my power to make sure I don't make you leave friends again. And I know I can't guarantee what God will do in our lives, but I can do my part. And I will do whatever I can to make it easier for you if we ever have to move again. Alicia, we made it. Despite the deployments, the workup cycles, the travel, the last-minute changes to the schedule, and the stuff that I knew about months in advance and forgot to put on the calendar. After all of it, we got to the end intact. A little bruised, a little scarred, but we're intact. I cannot give you enough credit for this journey. A lot of men say it's because of their wife that they had a good career. In my case, it's more true than words can convey. Without Alicia, I would not have made it through Chief season. How many times did you have to go fetch a uniform for me at the last minute because I hadn't gotten the right stuff sewn on it? I don't even know, I lost track. You made food for us at the last minute. I always had food available, and I had to be on a really strict diet. I mean, no surprises here, I'm a big dude. I had to lose a lot of weight. You took care of me, you kept me going while pregnant. And you had to deal with that one guy who will remain nameless, but I think you and I both know who we're talking about. Without Alicia's encouragement, I wouldn't have applied for warrant officer in 2013, and I wouldn't have commissioned after a major injury a year later. I wouldn't have stayed past my 6-year requirement, and I wouldn't have made it to CWO4. I wouldn't have 3 children who are on their own way to their own versions of greatness. I would not have this if I did not have you. Thank you. As Colin Powell said in his great book, "It worked for me in life and leadership," and I highly recommend that book. He said, quote, "There comes a time when everyone has to decide it's time to get off the train." Well, for me, that time is now. Truth is, it was an easy decision to make. It doesn't feel like it right now, but it was an easy decision to make. About 10 months ago, I realized I wasn't on top anymore. There were younger people with as much experience and knowledge, more ambition, and legs to move up the rank schedule better than me. And once I made the decision, it became the greatest relief of my Navy career. Pat, I'd tell you to take this job and shove it. But this is the slowest burnout of anyone I've ever met. I just keep not coming to work. So maybe it's Pat, take this job and slowly let go of it until January 1st of next year. But that doesn't have quite the same ring as Paycheck song. In a few months or years, many of you will forget me. And truth be told, as I age, I'll probably forget a couple of you too. But what I will never forget is how we lived together, laughed together, partied together, complained together, Seth, hated the Navy, and loved the Navy together. Friends, I leave the Navy in good hands. People like Kat Dembowski, Chris Gilbert, Michaela Bickelman, and so many others besides. They are doing us all proud and are top notch. If you ever need anything from me, please call me, text me, message me, whatever, I don't care. Just don't do it alone. If my career experience is any indication, you can indeed make it to the top, but you cannot do it alone. Oh, time for a selfie. Everybody smile. Awesome. Okay, I leave you with the words that I have been using to toast hail and farewells for the last few years. Friends, may our reliefs be an ever-present reminder to our bosses of just how indispensable we were. Thank you.
ITC Jeff Darren will now read the Chief Retirement Creed. All chiefs, past and present, attention to the Chief's Retirement Creed. Chief's Mess, cover 2.
You have, on this day, experienced that which comes to us all who serve on active duty in our Navy. I say our Navy because your departure from active duty in no way terminates your relationship. By law and tradition, U.S. Navy retirees are always on the rolls, ever ready to lend their service when the need arises. The respect that you earned as the chief was based on the same attributes that you will now carry into retirement. You should have no regrets. Do not view your retirement as an end of an era, but rather as orders to a new and challenging assignment, to a form of independent duty. Remember well that you have been and will always be an accepted member of the most exclusive of all fraternities, that of the U.S. Navy Chief Petty Officers. The active duty chiefs salute you. Chief's Mess, and salute. Ready, 2. Your retired chiefs welcome you. I wish you the traditional fair winds and following seas.
Hey, Rod, I gotta break in. Chris, I know what you're looking for, and I didn't bring it. So we're going to not do that part. I didn't bring the flag. So we're going to skip that part.
Okay.
Thank you. The problem is I put myself in charge. Don't do that. All right. Just forget it.
Will the guests please rise for the benediction?
Let us pray. As we go, may the Spirit go with each of you. For those traveling, may you arrive at your destination safely. This has been a wonderful celebration. May the joy you feel be extended to others as you leave here today. Share the warmth of the gospel of Jesus Christ, love, mercy, and grace. Yes, to friends and family, but to all, and to make our communities better in some small measure. May God bless you, and may God bless America. Amen.
Guests, please be seated. This order has been passed on naval ships from the 1500s throughout today. Spanish, French, English, Dutch. Yes, every navy in the world has used the boatswain call and sideboards to bring aboard or send ashore its officers, visiting officers, and all visiting dignitaries. The sideboards were hauled on the ropes and rise and lower the boarding platform so officers would not have to climb the rat lines, which are hanging over the side for a listed crew when going ashore or aboard. This honor was extended to visiting officers, dignitaries, and port officials. It was not uncommon for the commanding officer of a ship to order up the jolly boat, a crew of 8 strong backs, sideboards, and boatswains to send an old shipmate and fellow officer to his shore retirement home, never to sail on Navy ships again. All hands on deck was passed, and speeches were made about great victories, battles, and fought upon open sea, raging storms weathered, and voyages to distance in strange lands or port of calls others only dreamed about. Then a fine sword or a brace of pistols, a rifle or musket, or maybe a sea chest of fine wood and bound in brass was presented and remind him of crews and ships with which he had served. The boatswain would stand tall at the sideboards, and the retiree would request permission to go ashore. He stepped to the platform, and the sideboards would lower away. As the jolly boat pulled away, the gunner would fire a salute from the ship's main battery, and the retiree was set in the stern sheets going ashore. In the late 1700s, the U.S. Navy set sail with new ideas, new goals, and a desire to build traditions that would stand the test of time. Today, our Navy has given most of the pomp and circumstance and honors, traditions, and ceremonies back to history. Time does not give us the freedom to do these things from the past. Nevertheless, we still have to stop all engines, lay about smartly, drop the anchor to pay honor to one of our shipmates going ashore. We honor the years served and the guidance and leadership and friendship and the expertise that this shipmate has freely given for years. Fire Controlman Chief Kat Dembowski will now read the watch.
Good afternoon, everyone. So before I read the watch, Dan did ask me to say some words, and I knew I would not be able to get through without crying. He has meant so much to me over my short career, and he deserves every bit of this. I've had the great pleasure of knowing Warrant Officer Smith for the better part of 9 years. We met when I checked on board my first ship, USS Way City, and he had a tall order of wrangling a passionate and very strong-headed junior technician. He developed a new leader, and he guided me through life in the fleet. Through many, many conversations on overnight watches, we formed a great friendship, and I gained an incredible mentor. While on our 2017 deployment, I had the privilege of Warrant Officer Smith being my re-enlisting officer for my very first re-enlistment. It was an absolute easy choice. And then on that same deployment, I had the distinct honor of pinning one of his CWO4 bars on his collar. 5 years later, there was no doubt in my mind who I wanted to be my re-enlisting officer again, and he even traveled from Virginia Beach to DC to perform the ceremony. Dan, first and foremost, thank you. Thank you for pushing me to continue to learn, break out of my comfort zone, get higher qualifications, and aspire to do more in the Navy. Also, thank you for having those hard conversations with me, even though we both know I didn't always want to have them. It is without a doubt that I would not be the sailor or chief I am today if it were not for your mentorship, guidance, and tough love. There's a saying in the Navy that everyone is replaceable, and sure, from a job perspective, that is true. But that does not account for great leaders and great mentors. And the Navy will have a major gap with you retired. Now, it is up to those you have mentored to try to fill your shoes. And if we were half as good as the mentor and leader you are, we will continue to make our sailors and the Navy better. I know our friendship does not end here, and I wish you the best retirement and time with your family. All right, I will now read the watch. For 28 years, this sailor has stood the watch. While some of us were in our bunks at night, this sailor stood the watch. While some of us were in school learning our trade, this sailor stood the watch. And yes, even before some of us were born, this sailor stood the watch. As our families watched the storm clouds of war brewing on the horizons of history, this sailor stood the watch. He stood the watch for 28 years. He stood the watch so that we, our families, and our fellow countrymen could sleep soundly in safety each and every night, knowing that a sailor stood the watch. Today, we are here to say, shipmate, the watch stands relieved. Relieved by those you have trained, guided, and led. Chief Warrant Officer Smith, you stand relieved. I have the watch.
Bosun, post the sideboards.
Aye, aye, sir. Aye, boys. Left, right, face. Hold.
In keeping with over 200 years of Navy tradition, Chief Warrant Officer Smith will now request permission to go ashore for the last time. Bosun, stand by the pipe to size. Shipmate going ashore. Will the guests please rise? Chief Warrant Officer Sheldon Daniel Smith, United States Navy, retired, departing. It has become customary for following their retirement for the family to be piped ashore, honoring them for their contribution to their family members' career. All guests please remain standing in honor of Dan's wife Alicia, his daughters Hannah and Samantha, and son Timothy. Bosun, stand by. Navy family going ashore. Navy family departing. Ladies and gentlemen, the men and women of the Special Boat Team 20 are proud to have served with Chief Warrant Officer Smith and wish him and his family every success in their future endeavors. Please join us in congratulating Dan and his family. Thank you for attending.